All right, so CNN, the well-known establishment rag, has published an article. It's an opinion piece that I would like to talk about in response to because of how completely asinine this entire thing is, as well as the character that produced it. So the person that produced this article goes by the name of Lincoln Mitchell. Don't know if you've ever heard of him. I sure haven't. That doesn't matter. But essentially what he's outlining in his article is Vice President Kamala Harris and the Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg should and could be allies instead of rivals going into 2024 if Joe Biden doesn't run again, which he said he plans to, which is absolutely ridiculous. But let's get into this article and then we'll talk about a little bit of the future election, but how awful this article is in its entirety. So the article goes as follows. The next presidential election is 3 years away. Recent reports about early concern over whether President Joe Biden will run for re-election in 2024 and about tension between potential 2024 rivals, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg and Vice President Kamala Harris, are to some extent standard Washington gossip that can be safely ignored. Still, there may be something more than that. Buttigieg is clearly very ambitious, ran an impressive presidential campaign in 2020, according to whom, and has only strengthened his political skills since then. Harris, as the vice president, is a leading contender to be the face of the post-Joe Biden Democratic Party. Each may see the other as standing in their way as 2024 approaches. This is particularly important because 79-year-old Biden, despite wisely sending signals that he will seek re-election in 2024, may decide that he doesn't want to run 3 years from now. If Biden does run as an incumbent, he has an advantage. But if he chooses not to, that doesn't mean Democrats are doomed. A primary between Harris and Buttigieg could pit two key Democratic constituencies against each other, African Americans, particularly African American women, and LGBTQ voters. The impact of that fight would be even worse if it began in 2023 and took over the second half of Biden's current term. Fortunately, this is a problem that can easily be solved without either politician having to give up anything lasting. Harris and Buttigieg instead could agree that if Biden does not run again, they could run together in 2024 with Harris the nominee for president and Buttigieg for vice president. This could put an end to whatever feuding exists between them now while giving the Democratic Party a very strong ticket in 2024 that would seem like a natural continuation of Biden's first term. My God. A Harris-Buttigieg ticket would showcase two dynamic politicians and represent the breadth and diversity of the Democratic Party and indeed the whole country while not veering too far left and alienating key swing voters who Biden won in 2020. This ticket would be balanced with regards to geography. Harris is unmistakably Californian, while Buttigieg is from Indiana and brings with him a deep understanding of the Midwest. Wow. Harris will be 60 years old on election day 2024. Buttigieg will be 42, so there would be generational balance there as well. Both nominees represent important Democratic Party constituencies. Harris is an African American an Asian American woman, while Buttigieg is a gay man. This would help mobilize important parts of the Democratic base. Wow. However, both politicians are essentially moderate, so it would be hard for the Republican Party to effectively tar them as radical socialists or anything like that, something they would undoubtedly try to do. During and since the 2020 election, the right has tried to paint Harris as being on the far left, but that attack never got much attention. A Harris-Buttigieg ticket would also have a fair amount of star power. Although Harris did very poorly when she ran for president in 2020, we have seen glimpses of what she can be, including the first presidential debate of the primary season when she landed some very effective attacks on Biden. Later during the vice presidential debate, she more than held her own against the very polished Mike Pence. It's also visible in the easy and strong rapport she has with many voters. Buttigieg has shined in recent months as well during the 2020 general election due to his media skills, fast wit, and sharp intellect. Not every faction of the Democratic coalition will be happy about this ticket. The left wing of the party has long viewed Buttigieg as too moderate and have been wary of Harris due to her work as San Francisco district attorney and California's attorney general. These concerns are legitimate, but by the time they have served 4 years in the Biden administration, what Harris did as DA almost 20 years earlier or as Attorney General a decade ago will seem less relevant. Rather, the two will be seen as national leaders whose popularity will be tied to the Biden administration rather than anything they did before that. And so essentially, this guy goes on and he talks about how Harris could run in 2024, and then she could be reelected in 2028. And then that set Buttigieg to run in 2032. And this guy says he'd still only be 50. Okay. this article, and I didn't even read the entire thing, but I did read quite a bit of it. This is poison. It's poison. That's the only word to describe what I just read you. Literal poison. I feel a bit more unintelligent after reading that. I mean, just the rank brainwashing. So let's get into what's going on here. This is how these types of people, these liberals, see the country. Guys, look, in times of crisis, any given society, they have two choices that they pick. They either go hard left or they go hard right. Those are the two things that they choose. Right here in this country, we're seeing a rightward turn. We're going to the right here in this country. Well, why? Because the forces that be are leading us that way. There's nobody out there that's really leading us towards the left. Are there good leaders out there? Yeah, sure there are. But we're running dry, and the American people don't really have much of a way to turn. And there's a really enigmatic figure that hasn't left the stage yet, that being Donald Trump, that can capture the hearts of the American people as he once did when he was elected president. And he'll take us right back to that rightward turn, and this time he'll take us even further. But these liberals don't seem to understand that. Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg, both terrible candidates. Terrible candidates. Now, look, I'm not excited about any particular Democratic candidate. The Democratic Party is a lost cause. Now, towards the end of this video, I will outline somebody that I do think is a good or would be a good candidate potentially and should ultimately run, though I don't know if they ever will. But I will bring that up towards the end of this video. But look, he talks about diversity. Oh, this will showcase the diversity of the Democratic Party. We have a black and Asian woman, and we have a gay man. Do they not realize that people hate that bullshit? Do they not realize that the way you win votes is with economics? Okay, if I'm running a presidential campaign and I say, hey, this guy's gay, you should vote for him, like all the LGBT people vote for him. How many more people exist in this country? People that consider themselves LGBTQ or people that want healthcare? Hands down, people that want healthcare. So why are you catering to these minority groups instead of the majority? I'm not saying you have to give up on arguing for gay rights or whatever it is that you think is necessary, but in order to win, you have to involve as many people as possible and let as many people know, hey, I'm on your side. So they always get that incorrect, and they don't seem to be learning that anytime soon. He says that this will save the Democrats. No, this will doom them. In fact, they're already doomed. There is no... I mean, look, the Republicans are up +10, and the Democrats just keep making things worse for themselves. So in the midterms and the next presidential election, we could be seeing a Republican sweep, the likes of which we've never seen. They don't seem to get that still. Biden doesn't seem to get that still. He's not doing anything to help his approval rating whatsoever. I mean, it's incredibly amazing. And notice how he says there, Buttigieg and Kamala would make it to where, they don't go too far left because the Republicans would try to paint them as socialists and communists and what have you. They're going to do that anyway. When Biden was running against Trump in the primary last year, what did Trump do? He called him a communist, a Marxist. He said he was for socialized healthcare, and Biden fought back against it like an idiot. Do you know what you do when they say those things? You lean into it, not the words themselves. Don't lean into, oh, yeah, I am a socialist, I'm a communist. Look, the Cold War did a number on this country. Of course, over time, things have gotten better, especially with the introduction of Mr. Bernie Sanders, making those words more easy on the ears of Americans, more easy to discuss. But don't lean into the words specifically. What I mean is lean into what they stand for. So if somebody says, oh, this guy's a socialist, well, I do support universal health care for the population. The poll shows that the majority of people support universal health care. You won. Make them argue against your economically popular arguments. That's how you win. They seem to not understand that. They don't get it. This guy, Lincoln Mitchell, or whatever his name is. I mean, absolutely amazing. And I'll leave you with this. There's something, look, he was a terrible president, Donald Trump was. He was horrible. His policies were absolutely atrocious. He didn't help anyone. He made the country worse as a result of being elected. But for all his flaws, and look, I am no supporter of him, but there was one thing that he did have, and it's something that Kamala and Pete will never attain. And that one thing is charisma. Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg have the charisma of a potato chip. They will not win anyone. And he says that Pete had an amazing campaign in 2020. He did terrible. So did Kamala. I mean, what are we talking about here? It's incredibly tone deaf. It's indicative of them living in their corporate media bubble, not knowing the pain and how real people are feeling and what they actually want. They want an economically populist presidential candidate that they can rally around and vote for. And they're not getting it. So in every election, people are just voting for the lesser evil. That's all that it is. And Donald Trump, going back to this charisma argument, he had a lot of it. And even though he was atrocious on economics and his policies, he was able to capture people with his charisma. And honestly, a lot of people voted for him because he made them feel good on the inside. Now, is that a terrible reason for voting for somebody? Yeah, sure it is. But it worked. It worked. And if they run up against him, needless to say, they'll get absolutely destroyed. Now, just to end this off, I know I brought this up earlier and I said I was going to return to it. In terms of who I would personally like to run, there's some characters that you'll see people on the left floating, such as Warnock and Ossoff, those two senators that were elected in Georgia. But honestly, I like somebody else. I don't know if he'll ever run, but I really do like this guy. He goes by the name of Keith Ellison. He's the AG, the Attorney General for the state of Minnesota. As far as I know, he's seeking re-election for AG, so it seems like he doesn't want to run in 2024. But look, this is a guy that endorsed Bernie Sanders in 2016. When Bernie lost, he endorsed Hillary. This was a guy that endorsed Bernie Sanders in 2020. When Bernie lost, he endorsed Biden. And the reason, according to him, he endorsed Bernie is because Bernie supported Medicare for all. So this guy's a staunch, unabashed supporter of Medicare for all. He was a congressperson for over a decade. I think he was a congressperson during a little bit of the Bush years in which he opposed the Iraq war occupation. I mean, I really like this guy, Keith Ellison, okay? And in terms of candidates that I would like to see run, he's pro-labor, so he would have the support of the labor movements, the union, the working class. I really think that if he were to run in a hypothetical situation, the left should immediately unite to coalesce around this character. I think he's a character that we can push left, radicalize if he's not already there. But that's neither here nor there. That's just my little opinion, the person that I think should ultimately run for president, if nobody else. But look, man, this is corporate media once again being insanely tone deaf and just not understanding the moment.